Hey you guys, welcome to Light My Life Naturally. My name is Kirsten Morley, your emotion code and body code practitioner. Have the pleasure of interviewing Melissa Rosella. She is freaking amazing. She is actually my new partner in crime. Just kidding, not in crime, but like in IOI. She is a proud mother of three, and she has I already said that she has three kids,
Yeah.
and she is a powerhouse woman. She loves to coach other people. She as she is a very passionate educator and loves to teach people, and she loves to tell stories, or she's a great storyteller. I'm really doing great at this today.
You're doing great.
um, but Yes, there is just so many things about her I'm super excited to talk to her about today. Today, we're going to be talking about being vulnerable and how that can actually set you free. So, Melissa, I would love to ask you, when has being vulnerable really set you free in your life?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that we got partnered up in IOI. I love doing
Yeah.
IOI. I'm so thankful to have you as my partner. I'm so excited. So vulnerability, I feel like, does set us free. I've had a lot of traumatic things happen in my life. And I feel like when we just tell the truth and we just keep it real and we open up and, bare our souls, right, to people that we trust, right? So Brene Brown is somebody that I look up to, and she says that you have to earn the right to hear someone's story. So it's not, you don't just go share, with every single person, you really decide like who you want to open up to. But vulnerability has always come pretty easy for me. I feel like since I was a child, I've always just been very open about my feelings, and I've always had big feelings throughout my life. So I would say the biggest thing was, when I turned 15, my mom became ill with schizophrenia, and she had to go to a mental institution. And I had to move in with my dad in Indiana. So that was a really tough time. And I went to therapy, and I talked very openly about it. And it really seemed to help. I think there are things that we do in our lives, like, eat too much to take care of our pain, or shop too much, or, we drink too much. We do these things that are really unhealthy called numbing. It's just different ways of numbing our pain. And I think once you open up your heart and you just show who you are to other people, and you're not apologetic and you're not afraid to be seen and heard by others,
Mm-hmm.
and gives them the bravery and the courage to then do the same. So, 15, was pretty honest with my dad at the time and my stepmom, and just really told them what was happening. And, it really opened up doors for other people to then share their stories too. My friends and such were like, yeah, I understand, my mom's been through depression, or, once you share your truth, then other people come in and say, yeah, me too. So there's been a lot of other times. I, in 2012, I had hope, and went through a really bad episode of postpartum depression. And at first I was a little bit nervous to, let people know, because I didn't know what it was, right? In the baby books and such, I didn't know that existed. I thought I was losing my mind. And it's, once I just said, you know what, I'm just going to keep it real, and I'm just going to say what's going on in my life. And so I created a mom's group, just another mama next door. And that's where that group came from, is I just said, here's what's going on in my life. Has anybody else experienced this? And it was like, me too, me too, me too. Oh my gosh, thank you for saying what I've always wanted to say, but didn't have the courage to do that. So I
Right.
think once you just keep it real, right, and say, hey, this is what's happening, you then, it heals people. And there were people in my mom's group that were going through similar things in different parts of the country, but they knew what it's like. They found one another, they found healing in each other, going through a tumultuous divorce, or, going through being cheated on, or whatever it is. I think when we can just open up and speak it instead of pushing it down. Because I know a lot of people that just, they would rather push it down and not bring it to the surface.
Right.
As they don't want to be seen or heard. They don't want people to know. But what we don't realize is that what makes us vulnerable is what makes us beautiful. You know, those parts of ourselves are what makes us beautiful, right? And unique. I've been through a lot. I mean, in high school, there was sometimes there was some sexual assault that went on. And I feel like if I can just be kind of somebody that talks about that and there's not shame around it, right? I think that we do this thing where we feel bad, right, about ourselves because of something that happened to us. I'm going to keep it real. Like, I thought it was my fault. And there was a lot of shame, like, I am bad, right? But you're not bad. This is what happened to you. And this is part of your story and part of what helped to create who you are now, right? So right. Talking about it then helps other people be like, yep, me too. That happened. What were the ways you got to the other side? How did you get to the other side? Yeah. So it just really does open up a lot of doors just to be open.
Right. That's so interesting. It reminds me of, like, oftentimes when I was going through like childhood things or betrayal trauma, you know, like all of that, a lot of people kept saying, like, I remember hearing, like, just keep it to yourself, you know, like the other person that hurt you, like, they have a reputation to have, like, you can't ruin their reputation. And oftentimes that personally made me like I was just being silenced, you know, and it's a hard thing. So can I ask you, like, you don't have to like tell everybody who it is, but like, did you ever experience that where it was just like people telling you, like, be quiet, you're going to ruin your own reputation, you're going to ruin other people's reputation? Did you ever feel like that?
I have been told, even now, when I do share some of these things, I have a book coming out, and there's a lot of things in there that are very, very, very vulnerable things that have happened to me. And I've had people say, I don't know if you should do that. You know, maybe you shouldn't say that. Maybe you shouldn't reveal that. Maybe you should just be quiet about it. But that doesn't create healing. That's not, I mean, me staying small and complacent and compliant, and I don't want to hurt people's feelings, you know, this is the problem, okay? Especially with men. There's a lot of phrases that people use when we grow up, and our parents do their best, right? I love my parents. But there's the, you know, buck up, you know, you really need to just keep it together. Stop crying. Don't be a baby. Get it together. You know what? Big boys don't cry. There's a lot of messages that we're raised with, right? Right. Push through, brush it off. You're fine. And I see it too. A lot of times when I'll be, you know, out and about with my kids, it's like somebody will fall. And the parent will say, and this is, they do this because this is what they were taught, right? They'll say, oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And they're crying. They're not fine. But we, for some reason, it's not okay for them to show, it's that emotion that, oh, you're not, you got to get it together. Stop that. Don't cry. And the thing is, you know, and I got told a lot of times I didn't feel like I was being heard in my house, if that makes sense. Like, absolutely. You know, I was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age and dyslexia, and I struggled a lot. And at a very young age, and repeated first grade. And it was just a very difficult time. Felt very small and kind of just overlooked, not seen, not heard. Everything just kind of continued, but there was just so much pain inside, right, that wasn't being addressed. And I just really hope people can open up their hearts and feel comfortable sharing. But it's interesting you said that you didn't feel like you could do that. You know, it's just, I have been told by people in my life, you know, you're going to embarrass me if you talk about that, or you're going to, you know, you're shaming our family. And right. Like, well, you know, this is my truth, right? And if it's going to help one person, why wouldn't I share my truth? Because at the end of the day, one person, yep. the end of the day, my whole mission is impact. And so if one person reads my book or one person sees me talk about mental illness and its effects, and they get that, oh, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to feel pain from that. That's okay to have that. I feel like I'm doing God's work, and that's what I want to do. I want to make a difference in other people's lives, and it gets messy. Like, not everything's pretty, right? With a big bow on it. Not everybody's life is perfect. We all have a story, but some people, I'm just choosing to tell mine and be really vulnerable and talk about the hard, messy stuff, right?
Right. That's, yeah, exactly. I feel like there's always that story, and there's always that, you know, that voice that everybody needs to share. So can you explain the difference between stories versus facts?
Yeah. So I've gone through so many different personal development courses, transformational thinking courses, and so forth. So there were things, like I said, that happened to me at a very young age. Actually, when I was 15, when that whole thing with my mom happened,
right,
my stepfather told me that it was my fault. So that I had put my mom through too much, and that I had kind of created her mental illness. I had put so much pressure on her, and I had created her to kind of go mad, right? And so I created that to mean I wasn't good enough, that I was a bad girl, that I was a bad person. How could I do something so horrible? But what I'm realizing now is that I created the story, right? I created that I wasn't good enough. I created that I was a bad girl. Nobody said I was bad, and nobody said that that I'm a bad human being, or that there were some things said that weren't kind at that time, and that was just information, but I carried that through my life for probably 2 or 3 decades of my life. That I created my mom's illness. I created the schizophrenia. I'm a bad person. And so once I took some courses, landmark courses, I realized that there's a difference. There's 2 circles, and I really encourage people to do this, and I sometimes still do. I create 2 circles on a piece of paper, and one of them is what happened. Right? What are the facts? What are the things that absolutely are true, right? That happened in your life. Those are the facts. Those are things that happened, right? And then there's the circle next to it about what you think about what happened, right? So I repeated first grade. I had dyslexia and ADHD in one circle, and then the other circle, it would be, I am stupid, I am not good enough. And what we do is our minds collapse them. We collapse them. It's not like I'm choosing to be a victim right now. Our brains are set up to collapse those 2 things. And because once you understand the difference between them, you realize that you cause a lot of your own pain.
Right.
I wish I could tell you that it's my mom's fault that I didn't feel good enough. It's not. I mean, I had this reeling in my head my whole life. You're not good enough. You're not smart. You're not going to be much of anything. You're not going to be an intelligent, articulate person because you repeated first grade, because you have ADHD, because you have dyslexia, because you're not going to be made for much. Nobody said to me, Mel, you're not intelligent. I said it. I created the story. And so we do this every single day. So I text someone, right, and say, happy birthday, I'm so happy for you. And they don't respond to me. And I'm like, they don't like me. They never said they didn't like me. They just didn't respond.
Right.
So I think we have to stop the shit show. He said, she said, what are you making your life mean? What are you making the events in your life mean? Right? So yesterday, my son and I kind of had a little bit of an argument, and he goes, man, Mom, you're the meanest mom in the world. And he slammed his door. And I was like, man, I'm a really bad mom. And I was telling my husband this last night in the pool, and he was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? He's 6 years old now. Stories. You're doing that thing. You're doing that thing again. And so I'm like, okay, draw the circle. This is what happened. And this is what I made it mean. And we live in torment when we collapse those things. Right. Yep. So I forgave my stepdad. I was like, he never said that I was a bad person. He was struggling with his wife going to a mental institution and trying to navigate a marriage without a sweetheart. I mean, he was struggling. And so he projected that pain during a struggle. Right. And I happened to be there and I soaked it all up. But he didn't say that I was a bad person. I did. I said it. And so if we can understand the distinction, and if we can look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm in charge of my life. I'm the author and the illustrator and the creator of how my life goes.
Right.
It doesn't matter if my husband's in a bad mood. I can let that sink in, or I can be like, okay, he's having a moment. My joy is not affected by that. I'm not going to decide who I am based on if my son yelled at me or not. I know who I am, right? I'm a powerful woman, right? That's been through hell. But the trauma, right? Is created in your life to help you learn a lesson. Everything's a lesson. So if you can extract the lesson from everything that happens to you, it just makes you a better human.
Exactly.
And more influential, right? Because if somebody's gone through something and they have, then you can call them and be like, how did you make it to the other side? What did you do? What were the steps you took?
Right.
So, I mean, Landmark was like, it was like one weekend I forgave the guy that, sexually assaulted me in high school. I forgave my stepfather. I'd been carrying the weight of the guilt and the shame and the anger for decades. And I actually was able to give him a hug. He passed away very soon after this, but I right after I discovered this, I flew to Arkansas and I said, I love you. And he didn't say I love you back, because it's not him. And I didn't make it personal. I just said, I love you. And I want you to know that I care about you.
Wow.
And I get it. And I would say even a couple weeks later, he passed away. So before he died, I wanted him to know that I loved him and that we're cool, right? I get it now. I get that you were just doing your best in that moment in time, right? Wow. We're all just doing our best, right? But forgiveness is never about the other person. It's about yourself. Taking the shackles off of you. Because you're being shackled. You're shackling. They're fine. They're fine. You're the one that's shackling yourself, and you're in prison. You're in your own prison.
Yeah.
I took the pieces off, and I said, God, I'm done. I surrender. Like, help me to another spot. Yeah. Jesus, take the wheel. Like, Jesus, let go, let God. Right? Like,
yep.
Yeah. So
that's amazing. So I absolutely love the circle idea, like the two different circles, like what really happened, what are the actual facts, and then what do you think about what happened? I absolutely agree with that so much. Sometimes we often take blame, or we often take the situation and then blame ourselves. And I feel like that has to do with narcissism and just any kind of abuse or anything, or assault or whatever. A lot of people actually take that blame onto themselves, and that's a great way to actually what really happened. If he's not texting you back, then don't let your mind wander. Maybe he can't answer you back, I love that. So I would love to know what made you make that shift from feeling like a victim to an empowered woman. How did you make that shift?
So I would say one of the biggest things was I attended, I don't know if you've ever heard of Landmark, but it's a transformational, it's really hard to explain. It's a weekend course. It's called the Landmark Forum, and you go, and it's a whole weekend of you sit there, right? and you just listen and you take notes and you go home and you digest, you do the homework. It's a 3-day course, and it's just, I can't even begin to explain to you what it completely transformed my life. But I got sick of being the victim. I got sick of telling my story. Here's the thing, trauma has momentum. So when you talk about your trauma, when you talk about it, it keeps going. I got sick of telling the sad story. And so I decided when I turned 40, it was like, people were like, oh man, I'm 40. I was like, hell yeah, I'm smarter than I've ever been. I'm 40. Woo! And I started writing. Like, I've always been a writer. Writing is my jam. That's where my stress, I write. Everything is my writing, right?
That's awesome.
And I started to look at everything that happened in my life that sucked. And I decided, okay, what can I learn? How can I grow? What can I learn from that? How can I grow? How can I create some sort of book for parents, right, of the lessons we need to teach our children before it gets to this point? Teach them appropriate touch. Teach them how to be assertive. Teach them to know who they are and not to look outside of themselves for their worth. Teach them that they don't have to be promiscuous. There's some parts in there that are going to be hard for me to write. And there's going to be hard parts in that book that are tough for me. I've cried writing it because there's parts of me that I compromise my morality growing up, a lot of it, to be liked, to be seen, to matter. And I thought that being promiscuous would make me more liked, right? It would make me, oh, they'll really want to stay with me if I do X, Y, and Z. No, because then you give part of your morality. It was like I gave part of myself up in order to be loved and liked, and it made me feel bad inside. So there's things in this book that are like, yeah, I don't know if I can write that.
Right.
But I feel like somebody is going to read it and go, that was me. That was me. So how can I teach my children? And it's crazy. I want to go back real quick with my kids about the stories. I want to just go back really quick. I forgot to tell you this. So we went to a trampoline park and Hope goes, hey, Mom, I said hi to that guy over there and he did not say hi back. He does not like me. And I said, oh, you're muted.
Because my kid is screaming in the background.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Welcome to motherhood.
Oh, no, I get it. No, my kid showed up one time on a live with a pizza in the background. I get it.
I'm still listening.
Okay. So, and I said, Hope, what happened? And she said, oh, well, I said hi to that guy and he didn't say hi back. And I said, okay, did he say he didn't like you? And she said, no. And I said, well, who said that they didn't like you? She goes, I did. And I said, well, is that true? Are those the facts? And she goes, no, I made that up. And I said, okay, honey, let's really break this down. Does he have a hearing problem? Is he having a bad day? Was he in a hurry? You don't know his circumstance. Let's just pretend maybe he didn't hear you. And she goes, she was just in tears. And I was like, let's really talk this out. So it's not just me getting it. It's like, I want my kids to get this because I don't want my kids to think, to berate themselves the way that I did. I had a lot of self-hatred growing up. I didn't like who I was. And I thought there was something wrong with me for years.
Absolutely.
And so if my kids if I can get it taught to them now, right? My 8-year-old has more confidence at 8 than I ever did in my teen years. And I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. Like maybe that I'm doing something right for her. Like she's going to have, somebody made fun of her water bottle at school, called it like a baby water bottle. And she's like, came home, used it the next day. I was like,
Yes.
That would have been me. I would have been like, oh my God, what can I got to fix it. What do I do? How can I make this person like me? And that's the truth is you can't.
Right. Right.
So
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I am taking a full page of notes here. This is awesome. I love that. So I would love to know, because we're both in InsideOut Institute, I would love to know what mental shifts have InsideOut Institute made for you as a person, and like helping you become a little bit more vulnerable, and being able to share your story and your message with people.
So, I was a teacher for 9 years on the west side of Phoenix, and I loved it. And then I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and I have been for 8 years. So I've been a stay-at-home mom, but there was something inside of me that was bigger. There was something in me that was like, Mel, do something more. Do more, do more, do more. And I felt like I was living very small. Every day kind of felt like Groundhog Day. I'd get up, I'd get my kids ready, and that's fine. I love being a mom. I would take my kids to school and I would drop them off, and as I would leave the school parking lot, I would feel this sense of like, I miss my kids. And I go home and I didn't know what to do. I was like, what am I supposed to do right now? Like, I don't know. And so I was like, I really want to do something. And I started to feel really, really isolated and lonely and kind of depressed, because I didn't have this. First of all, there's no evidence, right? As a mother, you're like, I kept him alive. Like, is that enough? Like, as a teacher, I get like an evaluation, and I get like, ooh, you're a really good teacher, and a hug every morning from every single 28 kids. And so when you're a mom, you don't get like a high five. It's not like, boom, you're awesome, you rock, here's some flowers. It's like, I kept him alive. So I really was searching, right? And so Todd Cahill, who I've known forever through network marketing, several years back, we were in the same network marketing company. Mm-hmm. I got a message from him that said, hey, is anybody looking to write a book? And I had been working on my book, right? 40 years, 40 lessons. I'd been working on that for about a year. And I said, oh my gosh, I need Todd, because he has a bestseller, You Versus You, and it's such a rad book. And I was like, oh man, I actually have some guidance. So I messaged back and say, yeah, absolutely. And he goes, well, hey, let's chat. And he's just so down to earth and sweet. And I talked to him on the phone. I was like, this is it. Like, this is where I'm going to start to figure this out. And that was 13 months ago. So wow. So I was working with him, and then Inside Out, I watched him create this. I watched all of it. And I was like, oh, I'm in. And so for me, now I have a system, right? I'm living out my purpose and my passion, right? And I get to be home with my kids. And I get to make my own hours, and I can wear my pajamas and be an inside, it can be a transformational leadership coach. So I can teach. It doesn't look like a traditional classroom. It's not with children, but I'm teaching through coaching. So right. For me, it was, I have vision, I have clarity, I have direction. I have a tribe of people that love me and care for me. And they're going to, when I forget that I'm great, they're going to remind me that I'm great. They're going to remind me of the gifts. And Todd had a way of pulling a lot of those gifts out of me that I couldn't see some of the things that were happening. And he pulled a lot of that out for me. He has a really amazing way of doing that. And so for me, it's, I've built confidence. I started doing Facebook Live videos, 12 months ago. And every time you do one, you get better and you get better. And then I go back and watch and I take notes. Okay, do this differently. Okay, say this differently. I learn and I watch other people and I grow. And it's like, now I'm serving others, right? So I'm not at home, a stay-at-home mom, and I'm not knocking anybody. Being a mother is the hardest job, but it's like, now I get to see the fruits of my labor, right? Through other people changing and making shifts, and they're growing and they're becoming confident. So this Inside Out coaching program is rad. I love it because I want to help other people transform the way I have. So now I want to pass the torch, right? So, excuse me. And my kids are watching me, like they work out with me and they meditate with me and they see that I'm a mother but I can also fulfill my dreams too, right? I can do that. I can do both. So my kids are seeing me be a big dreamer, right? They see my vision boards. They see, they see me growing. And I think that's incredible. I think it's important that we pave the way for our kids and leave a legacy, right? Of, how it's not what are you going to do when you grow up? It's how are you going to serve the world? How are you going to make it better? Right? So
right, exactly.
as your child is screaming in the background, my baby's hysterical in the background. So I get it. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. Say hello. We're gonna wrap this up. I just really quickly, can you tell us how people can find you? Just like your Instagram, your Facebook, anything, your Periscope, whatever. Where can people find you if they are interested in looking into the Inside Out Institute and looking to get a hold of you?
Okay, so Instagram is at Melissa Rosella, and Periscope is also at Melissa Rosella. And then Facebook, the same thing. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And I look forward to hearing people get a hold of you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have such beautiful kids. Okay, take care.